Now this is going to be interesting. Aries with a full moon in Gemini and Mars in retrograde. This is not going to move forward as rapidly as you might want it to. But, well, taking us back to the drawing board means it's going to get faster in the future with all the learnings we got along the way. That being said, it is a general reading, so if the message doesn't resonate with you, feel free to drop the message. If it does resonate with you, drop a comment, like, and subscribe. We're going to do the DNA spread with the soul coming into manifestation in basically the tree of life, or my version of the tree of life. Let's see how this works. So your soul wants to incorporate in the spot of the zero, the sun. There's a lot of energy coming in. Do you see this, guys? There's a lot of energy coming in, and you're really, working with this. Your soul wants to be happy again and wants to feel that forward motion again, which is interesting because I kind of said the opposite in the beginning, but it's going to pan out in such a way that we realize what we have to do to get there, right? So there's something to do to get to that sun energy, to get it moving again. Let's see what it is. And the spot of the 9, that is the topic for your reading, basically what you're gonna learn through this, is the Princess of Cups. There's new love coming in, and the love you need to get that sun going. It can be a person. For some it will be represented as a person, but since it's the 9 and it's so fundamental to the reading, it's probably a newfound love for something. You're discovering something in your portfolio that you actually like, where you're like, you know what, I hate to have to redo this, but I realize in the process that A, I kind of love doing it because I'm doing it. B, for what I love to put out, for what I love to represent, right? So for some it's a relationship where you're like, you know what, this is not working the way we thought, but the fact that we want it to work and that we're willing to work at it, both, that this is coming together here, is basically proof for that we mean business and that there is true love here, right? So talking about a newfound love and the love within that relationship. For others that are not focused on relationships right now, if it's a business that you're working on, you'd be like, I want to be happy with this. So if I'm not happy with this, if I'm not loving it, there needs to be something else in there which I A, overlooked, or B, have to redo, right? For now, this reading is really, really beautiful. Let's see how you're manifesting this. In the spot of the 10, there's a Princess of Wands. Yes, so it is about a new project or maybe a new relationship, something that feels just like easygoing and is just very passionate, but in the process you realize the fact that it's so easygoing and so passionate wakes up that emotion, that love underneath it, so you realize it's even bigger than you thought, right? Because it's making you so happy and you want it to stay, right? But then how do you put the foot down, right? How do you commit with it still feeling free? That's going to be an interesting point in this. For some, it's just like, you're working on something that you're passionate to make work, but you are considering how it feels to you and that it has to feel positive to you. And it seems like it kind of does. So we'll see how you're manifesting this, how this is balancing out around this axis. In the spot of the 1, that is what gets you going. It's a Hanged Man in reverse. Well, it's time to move, and it's time to trust that things will work out if we just get it going, right? Kind of stumble into things. Fair enough. That is quite familiar energy for you, Aries. So that's why this core energy is so aligned and so beautiful with the Sun, the Princess of Cups, and the Prince of Wands, Princess of Wands. That is very beautiful. So you're getting it going here. Is like, whatever, it's gonna pan out either way, right? If it sucks, we leave it. If it doesn't, we see how we can level it up. And it seems like it doesn't suck for you. It feels very beautiful to you. Let's see how you're working with this. In the spot of the 2, what balances this? is that you have to work with the change. There's a Two of Pentacles in reverse right here. So there's a decision that comes along with letting go. There's decisions to be made that are not quite easy, and you have to work with the change as it comes, right? But change, that's a funny thing with the Two of Pentacles, right? Some changes in energy you just have to, work with, through, whatever, you just um, have to like go with the flow. With the Two of Pentacles as a card for change, that means you have to initiate that change, or change is presenting you with an option, with many options you have to make a decision on. So it needs you to be active here, which seems not so super easy for you because it's in reverse, but you want it to. It's like you're kind of befuddled that it's not easy to you because the core energy is so amazing. Fair enough. What does easy mean? I mean, like, it's just it's putting you in front of a decision you didn't want to make and you just wanted it to play out, but then life be like, yeah, but what do you want from this? Do you want the Princess of Cups or the Princess of Wands, right? Do you want the passionate and free and uncommitted, or do you want the vulnerable and feeling safe and feeling playful with each other, right? Safe enough to be playful, to goof around, that baby talk kind of. For some in a relationship, it will be the moment the baby talk pops up or is getting like the overhand, the upper hand, it's taking the upper hand. We like, what? Actually, this feels more like a committed relationship than just goofing around. It's like, what do we do with this? Well, we'll just let it run until it presents us with a decision here. And you don't want to make a decision, you just want to move. Fair enough. Now let's see what you realize from this. Eight of Swords, interference. Hmm. So what's clouding your judgment basically is the interference of other mindsets and belief systems. So it can be news you're taking in, it can be people that just put thoughts in your head where you're like, maybe you're right, but maybe not exactly. So you're kind of caging yourselves in with all the interference, really, with all the mindsets surrounding you, where you're unsure of a decision that you kind of already made with that Hangman in reverse, where you're like, you know what, I said I'd go for this wherever it leads me. And then it leads you to making a decision where universe be like, do you really want this? This is a decision you have to make. And people fucking with your mind with that interference, right? Very fucking interesting. Very interesting. Takes me to the idea that you kind of already made the decision, but it's tough to follow through with this because there's consequences. Every decision has a consequence, right? And then people be like, yeah, but have you thought about this consequence and this consequence? Right, with that Eight of Swords, and you be like, oh, maybe I should rethink this. I thought I'd just go with the flow, but now it's kind of getting serious, right? Or if you're dealing with a business where you're like, I'm just doing that, and then some part of the business pops up where you really have to like learn something that doesn't exactly come easy to you or so, and you're like, shit, okay, if that is the case, maybe I should, let it be or whatever. So it's kind of universe kind of asking you to double down on the energy you're coming in with, right? So you said wherever it leads you, are you really committed to that idea, right? And then you're listening to a lot of opinions, trying to make up your own mind. Let's see how you're doing this. In the spot of the Four, the idea that gives you stability in this is Death in reverse. So there's a profound change, just going with the flow here. Something that, well, it is in reverse though, and I know I'm not supposed to read reversals with the Thoth Tarot, but fuck this, like, it's an additional information I want to work with. And yeah, every decision you do not make is a decision that will be made for you, and you kind of know that. So if you don't want to confront that death, you know it's still gonna, or that uh, transformation, right? If you don't want to confront that death, meaning that transformation, you know it's a decision that will be made for you. So that's kind of comfortable, right? So, your comfort zone is that life just happens to you and you can be responsive, you know? So, it's going to change anyway. Transition's going to happen. You're like, I don't have to care about this, actually, right? That's a comforting thought. But then again, it could also signify that something within your family and stability and home is changing. So, coming back to the relationship narrative, where something is actually bigger than you thought, and you realize something in your fourth house is changing, like transitioning, basically, you becoming a little more like a family guy, you know? For example, that could be it, where you're like, ah, shit, it doesn't like feel exactly as free as it did, and I'm kind of liking it. I'm loving it actually. If you know, this new beginning in love actually suits me. So there's something changing within me, and now I'm listening to all the interferences where people be like, but if you commit to this or whatever, and if like you can't tell him I love you, or for a man or whatever, you can't tell her I love you because she's gonna run away. Well, in most of the cases, she will, but if she doesn't, that's a real deal, isn't it? Right? It's very interesting. So it is like a commitment to go wherever the universe takes you, and then the universe be like, yeah, but you have to decide for this. It kind of need to know whether you really want it, right? Whether you're really committed to going where it takes you. Because where it takes you is the Princess of Cups, that's love, but that's vulnerability also. And the Princess of Wands that you manifested here doesn't show that. The Princess of Wands be like, whatever happens, happens. And inside you'd be like, please don't let it break up, whatever it is. If it is, I can't stress that enough, if that is a project of yours and not a relationship per se, which is also a project, then it's basically the same thing. It's like you're letting loose. You be like, okay, I get the sun here. I'm going to make this work. There's a decision you have to make to commit to that change. Well, I don't see the commitment right away, but there's decisions that come with letting go and tackling this, whatever it is. And a lot of opinions on those decisions where you're like, you know what? Fuck this. If you're talking on, I'm not going to make a decision at all and let the universe make that decision for me. Guess what? You kind of already made that decision within yourself. With that death in your fourth house, it's like your need for security, your need for stability has changed or is changing, and you're figuring that out. So you have to make a decision for that change, right? And with the change, with making that decision, that change can truly occur. Imagine your needs have changed but your wants still the same, and now making that decision signifies that your wants are matching your needs, and that's when the two of discs and the death card both flip right side up. It's like you're letting loose. You're confronted with a change that doesn't come easy to you because it tackles your fourth house, your idea of commitment and community and family, right? So you kind of have to make that decision, and if you don't, it will be made for you. But I don't see it breaking up. I mean, this could very well be something you can't get away from, so the decision will be made for you if you're not making it, right? Or at least you'll be confronted with an ultimatum, which is then, yeah, well, if you put it like that, I have to say yes, that kind of deal, which you actually wanted in the first place. So, well, whatever you want to do here, it kind of comes with the price, but it's a price you already accepted. It's something you have to wrap your head around. That's something within you profoundly changed, where you're like, you know what, this actually fits my new narrative. Now let's see in the spot of the 5 what is causing the conflict here, actually, because the transition is not causing the conflict, right? And it's just fucking with your balance in a sense, because the 2 and the 4 are determined by 2 cards for change in reverse, right? So your stability is changing, your way to look for stability, and your needs are changing. So what is causing the conflict is that you feel like the universe is working against you here, which is not exactly the case. There's a Wheel of Fortune in reverse, so it's something working in the background that you don't know about. Plus, it comes with the feeling that you don't realize that it's actually working for you, right? So all these interferences, for example, all these opinions that overwhelm you with the 8 of Swords are kind of pushing you into letting it roll or going with your own opinion, right? So people confusing you is actually part of the bigger plan, because it forces you into making a decision or not making a decision and let things like just fall into place. But it does feel that's what's causing the conflict. Like it comes with the fear that if you let loose and if you let it slide, it's not going to play out well. That's what the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, where you don't see that it's actually what the universe needs you to do is to make a decision for change, which means going with the flow and taking it as it comes, you know. So yeah, if you want this, there's some things you have to take care of, and one of them is taking the interferences as a way to lead you towards the decision you wanted to make subconsciously. Does that make sense? Right? So whatever interference it is, it's a sign either if it resonates with you or not resonates with you, where you're like, nah, this is bullshit, you know, but it is an input that gets you thinking. Even if someone comes around with like a bullshit opinion and you're like, you know what, that can't be it. That fucking can't be it. You know, I'm not gonna go for this. It's still the universe pushing you into a direction, and it looks like a Wheel of Fortune in reverse, where you're like, they actually don't mean well. Yeah, and they might not do. They might just shove you away. They might repulse you, so you can find a path into another direction. Now let's see what you're attached to here in the spot of the 7. That's also what is kind of giving you stability and like showing your determination. I get attachment a lot, but it's still like being attached to an idea. That's in the spot of the 7 here. The lust in reverse, yeah, takes me back to the first idea where you're like, you know what, this feels so good, I don't want to make a decision on it, because if I make a decision on it, it's not as playful and as free anymore, and I don't want that lust to go away. Well, maybe it doesn't go away at all, right? Because it seems there's very much like a lot of fire energy here. That Princess of Wands is like, that is inflaming, you know, that's fueling your fire. And then you're attached to the idea of indulging in life in a way that kind of contradicts that, you know, or contradicts what is happening inside you, which is, you know, you have a huge transition in your idea or concept of stability and family, right? And you have an attachment to a form of lust and indulgence in life that seems to contradict that, that seems to make it harder for you, right? So it is basically commitment issues in a sense, right? But the cool thing with commitment issues is that you actually do want to commit, right? There's an energy, a core energy that looks for exactly that, for happiness, for love, for passion. It's all there, right? It's just the way you get there is a little confusing, because you're like, you know, I didn't know I was looking for this, but it feels so good, you know? That is like the idea, you know? Or you wanted to like build a business and suddenly realize you where you feel more comfortable, what part of the business you feel more comfortable in where you didn't expect it, right? It's like, I don't know, you're always repulsed of like doing finances, and then you realize once you actually have to do it, you're kind of good at it, and that that victory that is coming with that is going to take you a long way. Where you're like, you know what? If I just leave my old mindset and leave the ideas people put in my head with that Eight of Swords, and just like if I just like what I like, and really go with that, then I feel real good, and then that new love can come through. So it's something you realize about yourself in your work or relationships that has changed, right? And that feels real good to you, and you just have to commit to that feeling in a sense. And I've seen a spot of the 8, the thing that's going to take you to abundance. Ooh, there's a 9 of Wands in reverse. Here the 9 of Wands is not so much the wounded warrior, more strength, right? So it's costing you strength. Which is funny because the core energy is so beautiful. And there's just these 9 wands that are kind of overbearing. Funny thing. It seems like not wanting to be strong, not trying to fight it, could be something. Not trying to fight that what has changed within you, because it is confronting that lust, right? So the idea of identity is, I want to be lustful, passionate, I want life to, I want to feel happy and all that stuff. And it's confronting a 9 of wands where you're kind of pressured, or no, where you're putting pressure on yourself, in a sense, You're putting pressure on yourself that you don't need to, because that one leads to the other, and kind of confronting it. Fucking interesting. Let's see what you're learning from this in the spot of the 6. That's the insight you're getting from this playing out quite like more in the physical or material realm, in the manifestation, let's say. It's the devil. The devil means something is toxic, and it's talking also about indulgence, just like the lust card in a sense. So if the lust card is unbalanced, which it is with you here, then the overindulgence in life you see as a problem, facing a Princess of Wands, because there's a new passion coming through, and it's showing either in a new project that you do, which tackles other features of yourself, where you're like, this actually feels like a Princess of Cups. This actually feels like something I love, and makes me feel like a kid again and playful, And then there's all these things around it that hinder the process, or are the process of realizing that, where you're like, you know what, I really gotta get loose, I really gotta let loose. And there's decisions I have to make I don't want to make, because subconsciously you already made them, but there's interference patterns in your mind where you're like, yeah, but what if, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, those kind of things, right? And it's all revolving around that challenge row, where your stability and your sense of control and what makes you feel home is in a major transformation that is tough for you to go with, to just go with, because you feel like if you're letting loose, fortune would be against you, right? You're distrusting your own feelings here, and with that build up like a quite toxic stalemate within you, where you're going to be toxic to yourself and to the relationship or project you're in, when you're fighting, you want to fight for lust, for freedom and indulgence and whatever, but actually you want something different, and that is gonna, gonna make you realize that you have to change the way you go about it because you're holding on to something that you don't want anymore. And that is costing you a lot of energy with that strength card here, which you have to confront where you're like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't, work against myself because that makes me gnarly against myself and against the people I work with, you know? So that's actually, and that sounds a little negative, but it is not negative at all, right? Remember, the core energies feel really fucking good to you. It feels really good to you. The only problem I see is that all the things surrounding this give you a false idea of what makes you feel good. And if that is not in balance, then it's going to be overindulgence in something that does not make you happy long term. So, well, the thing is, if whatever this is truly a soul connection, so the business or the relationship you're working in, both can be a soul connection. If that is a soul connection, it won't go away. You cannot fuck it up, right? There's also another possibility here, though, because both are princesses, right? And it's not major arcana per se, but it has the vibe of a major arcana. The other story would be that if you realize what you truly want too late, you have to need another try. There's going to be another try, right? So if you fuck up one project or just, one relationship is going away, another one will come in so you can revise your decision. That could also be it. Now, I don't see a relationship ending here. That's not what I'm saying. And it's not going to end anytime soon. First, it gets to that devil where you realize you're endangering it through holding on to something that you don't want anymore, right? Imagine you work as a creative in an agency. Now you want to do your own thing and you realize all this administrative shit is actually sitting better with you, where you're like, you know what? Actually, I don't like that creative pressure, and there's other people that are way more in tune with that. I want to do a different part of the business, right? So maybe you're switching functions, right? Maybe for some, maybe even most of you, it could be that something in a relationship feels way more profound than you're willing to give it credit for, and you're like, no, we're not taking that step because we don't want to cage ourselves in. But you're actually caging yourself in with not even considering it, because this is what it feels like to you. It feels like a Princess of Cups. It feels like love, like wholehearted, I want to be vulnerable with you kind of love, I want to stay in bed and cuddle with you and, and all that stuff, right? It's not just, it's maybe starting as like, we just get each other, we don't want to commit. We both don't want to commit. We just like going with the flow here. And at a certain point, the flow takes you to where things get serious and you'll be like, you do, that's a funny thing. You do actually feel comfortable with the way it's going, but then something in your mind tells you, but wait, right? And something in your character which you attach to tells you, but wait, right? And if you give in to that impulse to put pressure on you, right? So the flow wants to take you where it gets serious, and your ideas and your attachments be like, we don't want it to get there, right? But you subconsciously already decided for it to move that direction. So you're building up pressure within yourself, and that makes you gnarly, and that can, that will bleed into whatever relationship or project it is you're working on. So be aware of that. It's gonna feel better than you want it to, right? It's a strong case of not wanting to want it, but wanting it, whatever this is. So if it is a project for you, it's probably whatever you have to revise here, right? Wherever you feel comfortable is changing, and you realize maybe maybe I should do it in a different way. Maybe this type of work needs to be the focus because I'm actually better at it, and I feel like I can be more playful with it. You know, I feel like a kid again whenever I do this kind of work. I'm like, in the flow. So why am I focusing on this part of the deal when I actually want to focus on this part? Because it gives me more energy. So that's something to look out for. It's like it's gonna feel real good. Let that feeling guide you, right? And don't let it fuck with your mind, right? So how it feels to you and where your own energy pulls you towards should be an indicator for what you need to want and not the other way around. It's like, I don't want to feel this. Never worked out for anyone, right? So if it feels right, it probably is, right? So, right. So take a look at it whenever your idea of what it needs to be or what you wanted it to be is not matching a positive feeling. That needs to ring a bell where you're like, maybe this has changed, right? You're not even wrong, or you weren't wrong in the past. It's just that it maybe just has changed. So go with it. This is so fucking beautiful. Aries. If that resonated with you, drop a comment, like and subscribe, and check out my Instagram and TikTok channel. Is like, it's gonna blow up soon. I'm putting in the work, and seems like so will you. Thank you for being here. I love you.